a little early. We figured we get this started at a little bit at 6:30, but we got to start a little bit in advance. Before we get started today is the Dallas Mavericks taking on the New York Knicks in Dallas, Texas, in the Double AC. And this is our pregame show. And today I have a special guest, goes by the name of Big Freezie. Wanted to introduce him to everybody here. Big Freezie, if you go ahead and tell us a little bit about yourself and your New York connections to the Knicks, man.
Sure, no doubt, no doubt. So I am the creator of the Knicks content channel, Blorange Tears. I go by Big Freezie, Uncle Freezie, whichever one, you know what I'm saying, whichever. Been a Knicks fan since the early '70s. It's
Mm.
probably official since probably like 1975 ish. So I've been a Knicks fan
Damn.
for yeah, man. Um, do daily content. Knicks stuff, do NBA stuff also. Done stuff with other Mavs content creators, Atlanta Hawks, Chicago Bulls, Sacramento Kings. So we get around a little bit. We have a crazy fan base out here. You know that Knicks fan base is bananas. So
Yeah,
that's
man.
just
No,
on the internet. I'm on the internet probably too much. That's about it.
no, I'll be seeing you, man. You be on it. Like this whole streaming thing is definitely new to me. So it's like probably my week and a half into it. So it takes some time getting used to, but I see you do this often. So I don't know, maybe give me some pointers on the back end or whatever. Just to kind of keep the
I,
nerves there.
I can't tell you how to be great. I could probably tell you how not to mess.
I need everything I get, man. I need everything I can get.
Yeah, man.
Uh, but no, yeah, man. I guess I'll tell you a little bit about me. Definitely a Mavs fan since 2000, and a lot of my fandom comes from watching Derek Nash and Finley and stuff like that, and then specifically in Dallas, the majority of the success that I've seen sport wise has been through the Dallas Mavericks. I didn't see none of the Super Bowls from the Cowboys or stuff like that. So the team in Dallas for me for the last 22 years has been the Dallas Mavericks. So they're everything to me. Basketball's first love and all that good stuff. But for New York, man, I love New York. Love New York. If I'm not picking the Mavericks on 2K, I'm always gonna start like a franchise with the Knicks. I just gravitated towards the Knicks and just New York in general.
Yeah, they're fun to play with on video games, sure, because tear them down and rebuild easily, and they always have like some spammy player that you could just go score a game with or something like that to make a game fun. So yeah, like in
Yeah.
previous Porzingis, where you could just get Porzingis and just average 50 a game on 2K.
No, for sure. Especially when it was a pre Dallas Mavericks KP or pre injury KP. He
Yeah,
was a different animal, man.
yeah, no doubt, no doubt.
Yeah, so what we're gonna do here today is I'm gonna ask you a couple of questions. They're gonna be very Nick question based. I do got a few friends that are from New York, from Astoria, Queens. So I got a few friends out there, man. I'd say. So they always give me crap about the Knicks beating the Mavs last couple of years. My friend Lincoln. He says we the AKA the Mavs killers,
Killers.
and
Wow,
yeah,
wow.
yeah, yeah. That's how it's been, but I'm hoping the Mavs can kind of just turn this tide and just make it a little more competitive because the Knicks have been having our number lately. Um, so yeah, man. So one of the first questions I wanted to ask you, bro, is when it comes to trades, right? When it comes to trades, who would you rather trade? Evan Fournier or Fournier, however you say his name, or Mitchell Robinson?
Definitely Fournier.
Fournier.
Definitely Fournier, and the reason for that is this. Um, 7 foot athletic dudes like Robinson don't come along often, right? Or like for instance, when I watch the Mavericks, when I watch the Mavs, right? Because everybody's got
Yeah.
but for the most part, a lot of people have league pass, so you can watch whatever team you want nowadays. And so I watch the Mavs, and I'm like, imagine what this team look like. The Mavs will look like if they had a dominant defender on the inside that could shot block and rebound at a high level and dominate the offensive boards. Give Luka Doncic another chance if they miss a shot. You know what I'm saying? Just that one guy. y'all had a Mitch, you know what I'm saying? If you had a Mitch Robinson, y'all would probably some of those
Man,
games, those 1 point games that y'all lost. You know what I'm saying? Those close games, to some games, man, y'all would probably. I can't remember if y'all won or not against Denver. I know it was a close game. The Golden State game, I remember, was a close game. A lot of those close games, I think Dallas wins if they have an athletic rebounding machine that dominates defensively on the inside, whereas an Evan Fournier is a Tim Hardaway Jr. type player. Right
mm,
now, how many Tim Hardaway Juniors or Davis Bertans do you really need? You know what I'm saying? Because they offer you everything in terms shooting wise, but when their shots not on, what do they really give you?
right.
You know,
There's not much, diminishing returns at that point.
yeah, right. Because Davis Bertans is not gonna defend anybody, not consistently. You know what I'm saying? The same could be said for Tim Hardaway Jr. He's not going to defend anybody. So when it comes to that, it's not even about the player itself. It's about the player type. Like a rebounding machine, defender on the inside, dominant. Yeah, like I don't know if you saw the Christmas Day game, but before the referees got whistle happy, Mitchell
Mm,
Robinson shutting down Joel Embiid. Joel Embiid had to go to the referees and cry. He cried on Christmas about how Mitch. I mean, the replays showed that Mitch didn't touch him on 5, 6, 7 plays. Right. So it's all about that player type. You know what I'm saying, in terms of value and what he brings to the Knicks. And I make that decision based on any team, because a lot of teams have one way shooters, like the guy that if he gets hot he can knock down 3, 4, 5, 6 threes. But when that three's not going, what do they give you?
right. My question is, who's the other big guy? Got Harkinson, or how do you say his name?
Uh,
Harkenstein.
yeah, Isaiah Hartenstein. And
Harkenstein.
yeah,
And so I guess the other question is like, so with trading, say either Fournier or Robinson, what could you possibly get back for Evan?
ideally, and this is another thing. I think we share the same.
Because before you get into it, that's the dilemma with us and Tim Hardaway Jr.
Right? Yeah,
What
yeah,
could you get back?
yeah, yeah. And so the thing is with y'all share the same thing. You know, these shooters, when their shots not going, they don't play make. So your primary playmaker, Luka Doncic, has to carry the team offensively, right? So
Right.
ideally, what we prefer is, say, a secondary playmaker, say an upgrade over, say, an Emmanuel Quickly, Spencer Dinwiddie type. You know what I'm saying? We don't necessarily need while Dinwiddie and brings value to y'all and Quickly brings value to us. We need a guy. Whereas is if Jalen Brunson gets dinged up, and he's dinged up right now, he probably won't play tonight, right? When he gets dinged up, we need a
Mhm.
guy to step in and keep the ship afloat until he gets back. And even in games, I watched the Mavs play. Lucas sat, and the team just came back. They were like, "Man, glad we took a break. Glad he took a break. Now we can just come back." Because the offense
Mhm.
stalls without that secondary playmaker. So, ideally, if you trade that guy, you want a guy that can generate offense for himself and others.
Yeah, yeah, that's a tough one because I know I think Robinson was a restricted free agent in the offseason, but I was like, if the Mavs can somehow we'd be like a few pieces away from what we need to complete this Mavs roster. But it's funny. What do you think about all these former Knicks going to the Mavericks and then just settling and making a home in Dallas? And my friend will make jokes about like, man, y'all ain't the Dallas Mavericks, y'all the Dallas Knicks.
Yeah, yeah. They're running
Well,
joke for us too. The Dallas Mavericks. But
Mad
but
Knicks.
the cruel irony, the cruel irony to it is those guys don't make much of an impact, right? Like they didn't make much of an impact here, and then they go somewhere else and they make less of an impact. You know
Mm,
what I mean? Reggie Bullock. They make less of an impact on a new team, which would frustrate a new franchise because you everybody gets excited about signing new free agents and what they could possibly bring, and always look at the upside. Always look at the beauty marks, but never look at the warts. So it's like one of those
Mm,
things when something is brand new, you always look on the bright side till the game starts. And then you're like,
right.
oh, this is why they let him walk. Okay.
Yeah, no, and it kind of goes to what well, Rel from We Talk Mavs always says, like, he'll check out other channels that talk about their teams because they give you more insight to the team. So, for example, when we got Reggie Bullock, I was like, oh, okay, a defender, 3-point shooter. I'm not watching much Reggie Bullock highlights, but if I was watching New York's every day, all day, for 10 mil a year.
Right. You're like, Reggie Bullock left the Knicks for an additional year. He could have stayed. Honestly, there's a contingent of New York Knicks fans that would have liked to keep Reggie Bullock because they know what
Mm,
he like. We know what Reggie Bullock is. Reggie Bullock is only a spot up shooter. Reggie Bullock
mm,
is only a specific wing defender. Like he's not versatile. He's not going to be able to guard quick guards, and he's going to not be able to guard big small forwards, right? Big wings.
mhm.
He can guard that 6'5", 6'6", 6'7" type of guard slash wing player. But anything beyond that, you're asking him to do too much.
Yeah.
That's not a bad thing because at times he's excellent at doing just that, just guarding, you know, those type of wing players. So depending on what your expectation is, then you may like Reggie Bullock, right? But depending on your expectation, you may not like Reggie Bullock, especially when
Yeah,
you know
no,
that you signed him in free agency.
yeah, no. In theory, I love the idea of a Reggie Bullock playing with Luca, a defender, can spot up, shoot. Um, in theory, but recently his inability to make those shots the entire year so far has been a real sour spot when it comes to Dallas Mavericks roster building, specifically Reggie Bullock, because now you got Davis Bertans coming in, being an automatic shooter in his short time span, and it's like increasing his value. It's like, damn, maybe he should get more minutes over Bullock. And so it creates this dynamic that you're trying to find players to piece around Luca. If
Right.
only the players that they have right now would just make their shots, you're looking at a completely different team.
Right.
And that, and I think that's part of the things that we're running into. But I got a follow up question, man. I got three more, about four more. Next question: do you say, not you, but is there some New York Knicks regret for not trading for Donovan Mitchell?
Um, of course, of course.
Okay.
It's like dating though, and in my opinion, it's like and we've all been through this. Like you see a lady and you're like, man, and then something happens like you just
Hmm.
don't feel confident in that moment, so you back off. You're like, oh man, I don't have on the right outfit, or
It's kind of out of my league type of
yeah,
deal.
or something stops that moment from coming to fruition, right? And so it's one of those deals where if you're a Knicks fan, you're like, dang man, that was my chance to go get her, or in this case, go get Donovan Mitchell, right? But then
Yeah.
but a realistic NBA fan understands um, that these guys are going to come up. Man, Trey Young may be available right now. So
Mm.
if you're a realistic Knicks fan and you missed out on Donovan Mitchell, and say, hey, next time this opportunity comes around, man, we'll make sure we're ready next time. Because we have the assets to go get a guy. Everybody knows that we have the Mavericks pick this year, as a matter of fact.
Yeah.
So we have the weaponry to go get a guy. It's just, you know, um, Donovan Mitchell is special, and either you pay the price or you don't. And so, if you don't pay the price, you can't regret it because Donovan Mitchell is a Cleveland Cavalier, and he is going to be that. And there's nothing we can do
Yep.
about it. But the next guy, when the
Mm.
next guy comes around, whether it's Zach LaVine, um, Trey Young, whoever that guy is. The Knicks front office has to be ready to make that move. It's just one of those deals because if man, can you imagine being the Knicks front office and not pulling the trigger on Trey Young or Donovan Mitchell?
Mm.
He'll be
Heads need to be rolling.
yeah, he'll be on a podcast with you and I. Not that you and I rocking together is a bad thing. I think it's
Right.
you know what I mean? But
Yeah.
those guys, if they miss out on that, if they swing and or not even swing and miss, if things fall through 2 times in a row in the same year, then now you're asking for you know to be rocking with TGK and Uncle Freezie on a mass podcast, right?
Off-season podcast.
Yeah, man.
Well, like, what mistakes did you do this year? Type of deal.
And they have room because you and I rock. I feel comfortable up here, so I don't even know if we have room for
Right, like, yeah, man, we good. We
them.
don't need your negativity, man. You probably gonna drop the ball on this podcast.
Yeah.
So that takes me right into the next question. Cause we talking about Zach LaVine, Trey Young. For some reason, he's become quote unquote available. Like it's like around some circles. For you as a Knicks fan, well, who would be your number one target that if you can use these assets that you have, these picks that you have to go get right now this team, who is that number one person?
Luca.
Oh man.
Luca.
Is he available though?
You set me up. What's this, Luca, man? We give y'all everything. We give, but all jokes aside, right? Luca's not available, and he'll never be available, right? But if we could probe the market for guys that we think may be available with the assets that we have, we'd certainly. You have to consider Trey Young, right? You have to consider Zach LaVine, right? These are guys that you have to consider because guys at that talent level don't just you know become available. And I know Zach LaVine is the sweetheart of Mavericks fans. I understand. I understand that. You know what I'm saying? But
It's some of us though. Some of us. I think Mavs fans have kind of smartened up to taking players with injuries.
right.
So there's a little bit of hesitation between some of us. It just depends on the deal, honestly. Not to cut you off though.
No doubt, no doubt. I understand where you're coming from. In this weird kind of situation we're in. Of course, we want to say, um, we want to be smart about the decisions that we make. But the smarter thing to do is to ensure that if you have a star, that you keep them happy, right? So if you have to take a risk
Right.
on Zach LaVine to keep Luca happy, to keep Luca in Dallas, man, you got to take that. You got to take that chance, bro. Because
Mm-hmm.
the only thing, say, worse than having a often injured star is not having a star at all.
Good
You know,
point.
so you gotta if Luca is at the point where he's saying, "Hey man, listen, y'all better get somebody in here," or look, you gotta, hey man, how healthy is Zach LaVine? Is that a good
Right.
pair? Can Zach LaVine play off the ball with Luca, a ball dominant playmaker, right? I would
Right.
say, I would say, you got to consider it. The same thing with the Knicks. Are we gonna be? Are we gonna say no to Zach LaVine because he's, had an injury, here there, and just say maybe Quentin Grimes can lead us to a championship? No. We've got Brunson for 4 years, RJ for 4 years, and Randall for 3 years. If we could take on Levine's 5-year deal, whatever, and we get 3 good years out of it, and he helps us in that window, then we'd have to at least consider it. Because shopping doesn't always mean buying. You can shop the landscape, often. Doesn't mean you have to pull the trigger on everything.
Gotcha. So you're open for the Knicks to get either Trey Young or Zach, or is there someone else that you would prefer
Uh,
besides Luca?
um, I don't know if I have a preference.
Okay.
Because my personal preference and what the Knicks may do may be two different things. You know what I'm saying? Because like you guys and your coach, you wish your coach could be more flexible in game and with rotations and things of that sort. And so we feel the
Right.
same with our coach, right? And so we wish our coach would be more flexible with in-game strategy, more flexible with rotations and things of that sort. So just by going to get Zach LaVine, will we take advantage of all Zach LaVine's abilities once he gets here with
Mm,
the current coach? You know what I mean?
right.
Will Tom Thibodeau, a defensive minded guy, be on board for a Zach LaVine and Trey Young who have known historically not to play defense?
Mm,
You know what I mean? So
true.
when you ask me that, it's basically saying like, "Hey, Uncle Freezy, are you okay with the conflict of philosophy between players and the coach?" I would say if Tom Thibodeau can use Trey Young and use all Trey Young's superpowers and kind of um, help him with his deficiencies, yes. But if that means if you get Trey Young or Zach LaVine or both, whoever, I don't know, just you know what I'm saying, for the sake of argument, then Tibbs has got to go because Tibbs is not going to be. He's not going to. It's like Christian Wood not protecting the rim and Jason Kidd.
Mm.
I saw the game where Christian Wood let somebody get a layup and Jason Kidd just walked straight to the bench and grabbed the guy and set him in for Christian Wood. Yeah, I
I
saw.
did. Kid has a thing about defense, but
Yeah, yeah.
um, it's like I sent you my notes because you already beat me to the next question. I was going to ask you for Tom Thibodeau. You want him there? You want him to go? And based on how you said it, depending on how he would use a player, you'd want him to go. But I get the feeling that you're not set on either one.
Um, honestly, I feel like the stability, right? Because Mavericks fans wouldn't know this because you guys had one coach for a very long time, Rick Carlisle, right?
Right.
But the Knicks basically rotate coaches every 2.5 years, 2 years, 2.5 years. Some guys less than that. Hornacek, year and a half. Two Fisher,
Yeah.
Fizz.
Tony.
Yeah, everybody. We rotate. So if we could be stable for a little while, I would prefer that as opposed to
Okay.
firing Tom Thibodeau. Now, is he perfect? Do I like Tom Thibodeau all the time? No. Do I like him sometimes? Yes. And this is as simple as I like him when we're winning. I hate him when we're losing. Is it that you know? I wish it wasn't that way, but I'm only comfortable with his style when we're winning. I don't like his style of coaching. I don't like his philosophies. I don't like his offense. I don't like any of that stuff. But I deal with it when we're winning. When we're losing, I just don't like it.
Mm.
So overall,
Yeah. See.
I deal with it because we win sometimes.
And it's funny you say that we deal with it. I think that's something that us Mavs fans are kind of running into with Jason Kidd this year is that we just left out of the Western Conference Finals last year. Jason Kidd did a hell of a job coaching, hell
Right.
of a job, and we come into this season we're like, well, we're without Brun. We couldn't control that, right? There's so many elements outside of our control, but additionally, I don't think Mark Cuban dropped the bag. I think he could have dropped the whole bag on Brunson to find a way to keep him. At that point, you just stay in the luxury tax. You're better in the luxury tax with Brunson than with Cole.
Right.
Kind of like the Warriors, right? But then coming into the year, like, well, kid, he's smart. He adjusts very quick. He's gonna figure it out. Like it's been like pulling teeth the first 30 games. Just
Right.
reluctant to make changes, reluctant to be receptive to criticism, calling out Mavs Twitter as a in the back of my mind, I'm holding on to the Jason Kidd of last year because I want him to be successful here, but also I can't be such a homer, and I gotta hold him accountable. I gotta hold him to the fire because it'd be different if we had a horrible team without Luca. But we
Right.
have a team with Luca, and at this point, there needs to be like a massive sense of urgency to win. We don't have the luxury to just waste time, and then that's how. So, um, I definitely do think it's a little bit different for us with Kid. I think some of us want him gone, but some of us are like holding on to the little hope that we still have with him because he is one of the best point guards of all time, and I do think him coaching Luca as him being his point guard right now is beneficial to Luca's development moving forward. But man, it's definitely an interesting time for the Mavericks. Well, last question before we get into the pregame, talk of the Mavs and Knicks. For the Knicks, right? Y'all made a NBA Finals appearance in 1999, if I last recall, against the San Antonio Spurs.
Right.
Do you think in the window between 1990 and 2000, do you think the Knicks did enough to win, or what they had at the time was the best they could have done?
Um,
Because
I,
back then there was no podcast where we could express how we felt about it. But always, that window, that period right there was an interesting period because they had Jordan, Hakeem, all these guys. How did you feel the Knicks maneuvered in that decade?
what I would say is this. I'm right now. I'm sending up the bat signal on my community page. I'm adding the link so they can find us, just find our conversation, right? But
Gotcha.
what I would say is everybody that lost during that era is going to say they didn't do enough, right?
Okay.
At the same time, how do you defeat Michael Jordan? Right, Michael Jordan in his prime. These are Jordan's prime years, right?
Mhm.
Our prime, our Pat Ewing's prime is Michael Jordan's prime. Jordan is drafted 84. Pat Ewing is drafted 85, and their careers run parallel for the next however many years, right? Um,
Right.
to With that said, the Bulls ruled the '90s, right? And the two times, so the Bulls did make the finals four times during the '90s, right? The
Mhm.
Knicks in those years that the Bulls didn't make it, the Knicks made it twice. You know what I'm saying? So
Mhm.
so if you're asking me if we did enough, I would say I think we did fairly well during the '90s. It's one of those deals though where it's like what the Phoenix Suns are going through right now with Golden State being great, or with Sacramento,
Mm.
what Damian Lillard is going through right now with Steph Curry being great. Damian Lillard is a Hall of Fame point guard. That franchise is a great and stable franchise, right? But
Yeah.
During the Golden State Warriors era, they're not gonna be able to knock off Golden State, man. It's just one of those things. The Golden State Warriors put together a dynasty, and if you're a Blazers fan, you have to either sit through it and like it, or dislike it and still sit through it, right?
Mm.
It's just one of those things, and that's what we went through during the Mike, because it wasn't just the Mike era. Scottie Pippen is also a top 75 player. Phil Jackson is the greatest NBA coach of all time. So it's not like, one trade would have put us over the top. It's one of those deals where, when you look back on it, you just have to tip your cap to the Chicago Bulls for putting together a great franchise.
Mm. Yeah, I'm gonna relate this to the Dallas Mavericks. That's how I feel about the Mavs in the 2000 to 2010 window. I think the Spurs just had an amazing franchise,
Right.
amazing set of players. You had Duncan, Ginobili, Parker. Um, oh God, I forgot his name. It was the defender.
Kawhi, Boris
Who?
Diaw, Owen,
Yeah,
Patty
Bruce
Mills.
Bowen. Bruce Bowen, man.
Yeah,
I
man.
hated that guy, but he was such a great defender. But he gave Dirk fits, man, in the playoffs. And say if aren't the Mavs way necessarily, I could see Dirk having at least 2 to 3 rings
Right. And those
just off of that.
two, by the way, those are the Yao Ming years also. the Yao Ming Tracy Brady year in Houston.
And three of them were the Lakers. The
Yeah,
start the 2000.
yeah.
And
So if
and so
if you're a franchise man, when a franchise puts together a dynasty, it's one or two things can happen. Either you could put together a dynasty that's better, which is very difficult, right? Or you can acknowledge that at this point in time, that franchise is just better.
yeah, that's how we begrudgingly. That's how we feel down
But Fred,
about the Spurs. But there's some mad respect for the Spurs down here for sure. We respect them. The Rockets, a little different. We definitely have a high respect for the Spurs and how they handle themselves. They were there. Spurs fans in general weren't like a horrible fan base to us either. So
right,
they're a very respectable fan base. I gotta give them that. I gotta tip my cap to them for that.
right.
All right,
Ironically,
now let's get into. Oh,
and
go ahead.
we lost to the Rockets and the Spurs in the NBA Finals is the irony.
Oh yeah, I did right.
Yeah.
Damn. Damn. And the one championship y'all have is from what year? It's 1970 something, right?
So that's a long story. So for,
Okay.
for like a 5 year stretch, we had the best team in the NBA, right? So
Okay.
so 68, 69, we were probably the best team in the NBA, but we were young. We're probably you can equate that 68, 69 team to the Memphis Grizzlies, right?
Okay.
How
All right. Appreciate that.
and how they were easy to watch. You loved watching them. They were exciting. And then 69 set and 68, 69, the Knicks lost to a veteran Celtics team. At the
Mm,
end of the series, all the Celtics players walked up to the Knicks and just acknowledged, like, hey man, y'all are gonna be the team of the 70s. Y'all have a point guard in Clyde Frazier. Y'all have bigs. Y'all have wing players. You got a coach. You got everything you need to win all the championships in the 70s. That was a narrative kind of going into the 70s. So in
mm,
69, 70, which if you were alive in the New York era, 69, man landed on the moon. The New York Jets won the Super Bowl. The New York Mets won the World Series, and the New York Knicks were the NBA champs. So
mm,
think about all those things going on in the city. It was a beautiful time for sports in New York, right? So we won it in 69, 70. 70, 71, we were injured, right? Even though we had the best team on paper, we were injured. 71,
mm,
72, the Los Angeles Lakers put together probably the greatest team of all time. I think that team
mm.
won 50 games, right? Something ridiculous like that, or some weird number, some number so crazy that you can't even fathom how dominant they were, and so we lost to them,
Yeah.
and so we won the championship again in 72, 73. So from 68, so 68, 69, 70, 71, 72, 73, we were one of the most dominant teams in the NBA by playing
Mm,
basketball. So we have two NBA championships. Um, both were beautiful teams to watch. No ball dominant guy. No
mm.
no in-house bickering or meaningful in-house bickering. Of course, every team's going to bicker some, right?
Right.
But no beef, right? No beef, and so if you're just a watcher or lover of NBA basketball, right? You'd love watching the Knicks from that era because everybody passed to each other and they played great team defense and they played for each other. Unlike how you see Knicks teams play nowadays.
Mm. Damn. Damn. Appreciate the going back in the Rolodex.
I got man. My bad, man. Yeah,
You good, man. You good. So let's get into today's game, man. Let's get into today's game. I see Brunson is a game time decision.
he's out.
I would love this.
Yeah,
Yeah,
he's out.
I just saw a comment here saying he's out. Damn,
Yeah, he's out.
it's tough. Well, that kind of who would be your Derrick Rose? be a backup point guard? And
Um,
who backs up Derrick Rose after that?
no, I think we'll go with quickly. I think we'll go,
Quickly.
yeah, go Emmanuel quickly, and then Derrick Rose minutes depending on situation. So Almighty Finesse is in the building. Almighty Finesse was good.
What's good, Almighty? Is that a subliminal? um. So, I mean, what are you expecting for today's game? Without Brunson, it takes away the floor general for y'all in a way. Even though you do got Derrick Rose, that historically is floor general. How do you feel about tonight's game, and what are you going to be looking for? What should Mavs fans look for?
Um, yeah, I think Mavs fans should look for a heavy dose of Julius Randle.
Mm.
A heavy dose, and when
Is
and
is that a good thing or a bad thing for the Knicks?
I think it's a bad thing for the Mavericks. I think it's a bad thing for the Mavericks, bro. Because
Okay.
Dorian Finney-Smith is out, right?
Yeah.
I don't see anybody on the Mavericks being able to guard Julius Randle at all.
Mm.
I don't even think it's close. I think this is historically um, Julius Randle playing in, where are we? Let me check something real quick. Yeah, Julius Randle playing in Dallas. You can expect,
This is a hometown, right? So he normally balls when he comes home.
yes, yes, yeah. Now, with that said, will that equate to winning? I never said the Knicks will win. It said
Right.
expect a heavy dose of Julius Randle. If RJ Barrett's shot is going, I could see RJ even getting in his bag also. But I think we'll struggle finding a consistent third person to score. Um, I do think though, without Brunson, you guys should expect a heavy emphasis on trapping Luca and getting the ball out of his hand, and make the other guys beat us. Um, I as a Knicks fan, I'm excited about Josh Green being out. Josh Green is
Mm.
one of the young Mavs that I think in time the Mavericks will build their team around him and the G League guy, the I think it's Hardy.
Jaden Hardy. Yep.
I like him, but he's raw. He ain't ready. He not ready.
He's raw and he looks like a natural on the court.
Yeah,
It's
yeah.
just more about polishing his skills for sure.
Right, right. He's definitely not ready. He's probably 2 years away from being the guy that y'all want him to be. And that's no
Mm.
knock on him. That's not no knock on him. I think he's going to be a great NBA player. I just think
Yeah.
right, you guys are maybe less concerned with development and more concerned about winning with Luca.
Yeah. I would say so. That's the tough it's tough finding a soft landing when it comes to development and win now. The kind of mentality that we need to have.
Right.
And maybe that's why Kid is that coach, because he's kind of very consistent with being stubborn and sticking to his guns or whatever the case may be. But sometimes when you lack transparency or don't team, you start to wonder, like, nah, man, like let's get this going. Let's extend Christian Wood, let's extend Josh Green, stuff like that. So, but yeah, Jaden Hardy definitely has a lot of potential.
Definitely has a lot of potential. And if I'm a Dallas Mavericks, bro, I'll be honest with you. I'm kind of excited about where the Mavs are, even though right now,
Okay.
moment, Mavs fans are going to be frustrated because they got a taste of the Western Conference Finals and they feel like it should be automatic going forward. Well, we made it there one time. We should always be there. And that's not how it works. You know what I'm saying? Every year,
Right.
season, and you got to treat it like that. Nobody's going to lay down just so the Mavs can go to the Western Conference Finals again. The other team gets paid too. They want to win also.
Right.
So it's one of those things. If the Mavs can make a move to get them that playmaker to go alongside Luca, I think the Mavs will be okay, right? But it's one of them things like with the Knicks, those secondary playmakers are not easy to come by.
Mhm. Not at all. And the sad thing about it is we had one, and they were across the locker room over there. How do you feel about how do you feel about the contract that y'all gave Brunson, and how do you feel about his overall performance being a Knick so far?
Um, I like the contract, and I love what he's bringing. Right,
Okay.
love what he's.
Mhm.
It's one of those things where it's um the Knicks hadn't had a point guard in a long time. Right,
Mhm.
bring stability and leadership to a team that needed stability and leadership. Right. So, and he's not a very vocal guy, but he's also not afraid to speak his mind, and that's what
Mhm.
we've been needing here for a long time. And to be honest with you, if I'm a Mavericks fan, I'm very upset that they found a way to keep Reggie Bullock and Tim Hardaway Jr. and did not find a way to keep Jalen Brunson.
Mhm.
You know what I mean? Because I feel like you can get a 3-and-D guy off the street. You can go find that guy
Yeah.
from where USA. But a guy like Jalen Brunson, I think you have to pay him. I think you have to go over the cap and then worry about the consequences later. Because any
Mhm.
out a integral part of a team that got to the Western Conference Finals, you're you're stacking the odds against yourself.
Yeah. No, and it definitely gives us shades a little bit about our 2011 championship team where
Yeah,
Mark Cuban just blew it up. And even though yes, they were older, you give that team one more shot.
yeah, you
Give
give
them
it.
that one more shot. That yeah, you got to give them that one shot. Um, I mean, with the Knicks being in town today, man, it's for me, it's always a special kind of game because I got friends that are Knicks fans, but also it's New York. You kind of get the New York spotlight on your team for Dallas because we don't feel like we're a marquee team yet. Luca could probably help change that to make us like one of those marquee teams because I mean, you got the Bulls, you got the Lakers, Celtics, Knicks, and who else? Warriors, right? I would say those are your marquee teams because then maybe the Spurs, right?
Right.
But the Mavericks, I think Luca has that opportunity to not only make the Mavericks even more relevant, but also one of the marquee NBA franchises in the league besides Mark Cuban's scandals or whatever the case may be. Um,
Right.
with being two, I know you said if there was one player you could get is Luca. When you watch Luca play, what are some of the things that you enjoy about watching him and his game that you see?
Um, I like the fact that he's selfish and unselfish at the same time.
Okay.
I like the fact that he identifies that a play needs to be made, but he takes control of it and makes the play himself. Right.
Hmm.
I like the fact that he stepped up his 3-point shooting. I like the fact that um he can play alongside another playmaker. Right. Like for instance, can Trey Young play alongside another playmaker? No, because he's got DeJounte Murray now, and his numbers are career lows right now. Right. Luca plays alongside of Spencer Dinwiddie, Jalen Brunson, and whomever, and his numbers increase. So
Hmm.
If you're a Mavs fan, and you see that Luca can play with other good players, that means Luca can play alongside other stars if you can ever get one. See, I don't know if Donovan Mitchell can play alongside another star, or Trey Young can play alongside another star, right? You have to be a special player. Like, can Giannis play alongside another star? I don't think so, right? What about Jokic? Can Jokic play alongside another star? Possibly. I think so. So
Yeah.
if you have a Luca, if you look at Luca today, you got to be excited about a guy with all that productivity that can also play alongside of elite talent. And every star in this league can't do that. Look at LeBron and Anthony, for example. 2 stars. They're an odd fit. Look at what Russell Westbrook brings to that team. It's just an odd, clunky fit, right?
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
Luka, that he could play off the ball and like it. So if you ask, like, what do I like about Luka's game? That's it in a nutshell. That he can be productive. He can carry, and no disrespect to the Dallas Mavericks, but he can drag a bus full of dead bodies to the playoffs because nobody Bertans on their scouting report. Nobody's afraid of Maxi Akiba. No, who's afraid of Dorian Finney-Smith, right?
Mhm.
And sleep over Tim Hardaway and Theo Pinson and Frank Ntilikina and Reggie Bullock. No,
All these Knicks, man. All these Knicks on our team, man.
I know, man. I thank you for taking them too. By the way, I'm gonna tell you.
Trust me, he ain't the first one to tell me about that, man. Trust me. Um, you mentioned Trae Young. Not, yeah. I see Greeny, right? Greeny.
Yeah.
What's up, Greeny? What's up, Ultra? I'm gonna come back to these comments before we end the pod. I say we got a little bit before the game starts, but before we even get to that point, I heard you mention how Trae can't play with another super. Trae has come up in Trae Young. For those listening, Trae Young has come up in a couple of trade scenarios, and there's odds saying that Mavs have the highest odds of acquiring Trae Young. And I was going back and forth on Twitter about this, and people were like, "Man, the Mavs shouldn't get Trae Young, this and that." And in my defense, I said the Mavs should absolutely go get Trae Young. If you're able to pair Trae Young with Luka, and they are friendly with each other, I'm pretty sure Trae knows that this is Luka's team, and they need to adjust to be able to play with each other. We're talking about the most open shots he would ever get, right, in his entire career. What do you think about a potential Trae Young to Dallas trade to be paired with Luka Doncic?
I don't think y'all have assets to go get him.
Mm. Even though at this current time where there's the perception that his value is low because of he's played with DeJounte Murray and how the current situation with the Hawks is going. Even at that, we still don't have enough talent to go get him.
To be honest with you, bro, you called me here to be honest, right?
Right. Yeah.
I'm gonna just keep it a buck. You can't trade your first round pick because you don't know if the pick that you traded to the Knicks is going to convey, right?
Right.
So you won't be able to trade those first rounders until the conveyance of the 2023 first round pick. For the Porzingis trade, right? Secondly, is do you have veteran contributors that Atlanta sees as vital in a Trae Young deal? Like even the best veteran, whoever the best veteran is,
Bryce Spencer.
Yeah, would the Atlanta Hawks be interested in Spencer Dinwiddie?
I would think, and we're talking hypotheticals here, right? A hypothetical theory trade in theory.
Right.
I mean, to me, I would love to find a way to get Tim Hardaway out of here. Go ahead and give the Knicks the pick, and then unlocks the other picks that we could go ahead and give out, and also involve Hardy in that deal. Because if you involve Hardy in that deal, now you have Trae Young to where you could kind of roll with Luka that have the player that could go and get buckets.
You got to put Josh Green in that deal. You have to put Hardy in that deal. You're going to have to put Dinwiddie and Bertans in the deal just to make it work. And they're going to want first round picks.
Yeah. So then who could go get Trae Young? Because the thing is, like, all right, he's a defensive liability. We know that. He's kind of like a cone out there.
Right.
Are your New York Knicks the only other team capable of doing this, or who else you think could go get a Trae Young?
New Orleans.
Mm.
The New Orleans Pelicans. They have an abundance of first round picks. They have CJ McCollum,
Yeah, they do.
point guard, while CJ McCollum is a good combo guard, not naturally a point in the NBA, I don't think. Right? But if you roll
Mhm.
a lineup, think about this lineup for one. Think about a
I'm
lineup.
already.
Trey Young, CJ McCollum, Brandon Ingram, and Zion Williamson. Right?
Mm,
About how that catapults them from being a very, very good team to a juggernaut, basically. Right?
right.
They're a juggernaut, basically. Right? And so the thing is, they have first round picks, and they have salary that they love to give you guys in order to, they have young players. Think about, not you guys, but think about what they offer Atlanta. Herb Jones, Trey Murphy, first round picks, salary, and so they can offer them Herb Jones, Trey Murphy. They go straight to Atlanta and start.
And
So
they could build around Murray
right, right,
with those
right.
players.
Right now, Atlanta is probably the most attractive team, one of the more attractive teams in the Eastern Conference because now they get 3 point shooting. You get two or three and D guys that are
Mm.
23 and younger, right? Yeah, yeah. No, I think New Orleans probably is capable. The Knicks sure can do it. They might not have the most attractive package, but they can get in the running for it, right? For them.
Mm.
Um, there are going to be other teams that are involved also, but I'm gonna say this, right? I think the Mavs are in a perfect situation to get, say, a Kyrie Irving type player in the offseason. Now, if depending on your moral compass and how you look at things, um, Kyrie may not be the best fit personality wise, but he's definitely a perfect fit basketball wise.
No, yeah. Him and Luca would wreak havoc
Yeah, and
on the basketball court.
yeah, and you could just sign him as a free agent.
The thing is, we're in cap hell. So unless he's gonna take a mid level exception, I don't know how we open up cap space to be able to sign players straight out. But again, there's always some kind of cap maneuver and tactics in the NBA. But um, I totally agree with you. I didn't even think of the Pelicans. That is really interesting. They should be considering that by
Yeah,
all means. Honestly, they really should, because there's people telling me like, Trey Young on the Mavericks, the guy can't play defense and this and that. I mean, I don't care. You get the talent regardless, and you pair him with Luca, it's a whole different ball game. And so, but the Pelicans, man, that is really really interesting. And if I were them, I'd definitely call Atlanta real quick. Like, hey, what y'all think?
they have all the assets. Why not do it? If you're New
Yeah,
Orleans, you want to keep Zion in New Orleans, right?
right.
Why not go get
That's how
him?
you do it.
And yeah,
That's how you do it. All right, man. Well, before we head out, man, we got a couple minutes. I don't want you to miss out on the game. Anything you want to add here? Let the people know in the comments. Anything you want to shout out? And again, everybody watching, definitely check out uh, Big Freezie on how you say channel's name?
Blonde. It's
Blorange.
it's blue tears, orange tears, Blorange.
Okay, Blorange. Got it.
Blue tears, orange tears, Blorange tears. Your main man, Uncle Freezy, the number one chief rock in Knicks universe, coming your way with all that Knicks talk, the way that you like to have that Knicks talk to you. Bim. And I'm hooking up with all the homies, you know what I'm saying? Dallas Mavericks content creators, man. We rocking the spot, TGK in the building, you know what I'm
Yes,
saying?
sir.
Mavs game, man. We trying to do this network thing, man. Trying to build up these channels because there's a bunch of NBA fans out here that love the way that we provide content, man, and we trying to provide that content for them.
Hey man, I appreciate it, man. I'm glad you jumped on. Appreciate it a lot. Really, really thank you for that. And let's go and enjoy this game, man.
Yeah, man. No doubt. No doubt. No doubt.
All
I
right, man.
I'm gonna get out of
Catch
here.
y'all.
I can rock the spot over on the other way. And I appreciate you having me, bro.
Hey, no problem, man. Thank you, man.
All right,
Y'all be
boss.
good.